That made the club president even more certain. Jin was scheming to set up a harem of creatures. So, she rushed over, pointed directly at Jin's face and called him a pervert, while she was the one asking to strip and curse him out. Mickey set a condition. If Jin wanted to prove his innocence, he'd have to kick out all the non-human members from the club. But then her underlings came over and said it was all just a misunderstanding, after Ranka saved them from that cat girl Kurumi's hands. The mole gang understood that licking the lips was just a Volf's way of making friends. So, the club president decided to let Jin off this time, but still said she'd keep a close eye on him. After winning the antelope girl over, Jin abandoned his throne to pursue love. This caused a massive turf war across the school, the biggest one ever. There were even rumors that whoever gets the #1 spot in the academy will enjoy food enough to last for 100 years. And because the prize was so insane, many gangs from other schools came to fight for it. And rumor has it, recently, occasionally, some delinquent students have been slammed headfirst into the wall, and no one knows if it's done by AI. Suddenly, a pack of wolves stormed in, surrounding everyone in the club. Everyone thought something serious was happening, but it turned out the leader was Big Sis Farron. She came to find her little sister Ranka. She wanted her sister to immediately leave the Animal Academy and return to the pack. But Ranka didn't want to go home, because now she was part of Jin pack. This made Farron really mad, because she thought Jin had forced her. But when she saw how much Ranka cared for this human, she decided to let Jin go, and made up her mind to recruit him into her pack. Ranka saw that Jin was about to be licked, so she demanded her sister let him go. But in a Volf pack, the alpha's power is absolute. So, it wasn't like she'd listened to her little sister. But Ranka screamed that if she didn't leave, she would hate her for life. Upon hearing that, Farron was shocked into disappearing, and her underlings had to carry the Big Sis out of the club. Then the Big Sis Volf took out her anger on some school bullies. Turns out those animals slammed into the wall were all her doing. Meanwhile, over here the lions thought Ranka was the one who drove Farron's wolves out of the school. So they went after the little Volf to settle things. They thought if they beat Ranka, they'd prove they deserved the #1 spot in the academy. Luckily, in a moment of crisis, a hyena youth suddenly rushed in to save the little Volf. In the wild, hyenas are also the enemies who steal lions' prey. The young man who saved Ranka's life was Gina, and he was the leader of the hyena gang. He always acted tough. But the moment he saw Jin, he declared that Gina was a female hyena. The next day, as soon as they arrived at the club, Jin saw Rena sniffing Hino. He even pulled out a bone and chewed it to pieces to prove he was a real male. But Jin said even female hyenas can do that. With no other choice, Gina climbed onto the table to pull down his pants to prove he wasn't a female. Jin tried hard to stop him and said, female hyenas also have sausages just like males. That's when Gina remembered that her dad and brother told her to act like a girl. Turns out this girl was actually a female hyena. Coming up, the academy will hold its annual sports festival. Ranka was really excited about it. But in the club, none of the AI were interested in the event. Luckily for Ranka, lazy girl, Ruby showed interest in participating. So, the two girls immediately went to the gym to train, running with 3 legs. But before they could take a step, Mizubi fainted and collapsed. And the lazy girl sat on the mole's head, nearly squashing him. Turns out they were Mickey's underlings. They were busy preparing the infrastructure for the sports event. Seeing that, Ranka offered to help, and took the opportunity to make Mizubi train her stamina. However, with her lazy speed, it would be faster to let the moles do it themselves. After many times, the preparation for the festival was complete. Seeing Ranka and Mizubi's determination, the next day, Jin and everyone else decided to join the sports festival. She has also decided to join the sports event. Now on the team of two fiery youths, she was also planning to join the sports festival. But Komori informed her a team had to have 5 members to register. The zebra girl was shocked. Her ambition of becoming champion vanished into smoke. Today, Mizubi suddenly became more agile, moving unusually quickly, making everyone feel weird. When they checked her health, they found out she had a fever. Since lazy animals are cold-blooded, when they have a fever, their heart rate increases, which makes their body work faster. Normally Mizubi couldn't join the festival, so Jin consoled her and promised they'd win the championship as a gift for her. The first event was athletics. and Ranka was the representative for the team. But just after a few steps, the whole racetrack slipped. She fell head over heels. It turned out it was a dirty trick by a chimpanzee girl from the primate team, because the race allowed participants to use any advantage they had, so it wasn't against the rules. After the morning events were over, the primate team took perfect scores. After the morning events ended, the primate team earned perfect scores, while Jin's team still had a big fat 0. And on top of that, the food was wiped out by that cat girl Kurumi, even though she didn't participate. By the afternoon, the final event was a combined events competition. The team that won this would get 300 points and be the champions of the festival. The first event this year was snow mountain climbing, and Jin signed up to donkeys for his team, because donkeys are unbeatable in cold weather, so they easily passed the challenge. Next was arm wrestling, and Komori was the one to take the stage. According to an urban legend, a koala's strength can reach up to 1 ton, so she easily knocked her opponent out. However, this hasn't been scientifically proven, guys. Next up was the swimming event, and Hina was the representative for the team. But the gorillas played dirty and drugged her, causing Jin's team to have no contestants. At this point, Mizubi had recovered and returned to her slow, weak self. She asked everyone to let her compete this round. In truth, sloths move faster in water than on land. But even so, her speed was still very slow. So, she was quickly overtaken by the chimpanzee girl. But seeing Mizubi's strong determination, the entire audience, including the cooking club, cheered her on, and in the end, Mizubi completed her part of the competition to everyone's joy. And finally, the last event to decide the winner was a race through the forest. Ranka was the one to take on this task. And once again, the chimp girl played dirty, but this time, the little Wolf bit through the taser on the chimp girl's hand and scared her so much that she passed out. After that, the little Wolf dashed straight to the finish line and won the championship for the festival. The whole team didn't forget to thank the donkeys for their help and agreed to let them borrow a corner of the room. The whole team also didn't forget to thank the donkey team for their help and agreed to let them borrow a corner of the room to start their own club. The magic recipe and the trophy were safely stored by Ranka in the cupboard, because dogs have the habit of hiding important things very well. A few days later, the Animal Academy unexpectedly had a special event, which made everyone super excited. Turns out, the giant panda, Mei Mei, from China, was coming to visit the academy. This event was so big that even the principal had to personally welcome her with great care, because pandas are youth idols and are considered a national treasure in China. All the clubs at the academy were assigned tasks to organize the welcoming of the new student, and Ranka's club drew the task of building a hot spring bath. While happily cheering the academy, Mei Mei spotted Jin sitting blankly while staring at the antelope girl, so she took the opportunity to snatch a clump of fur from the school boss to use as camouflage. Meanwhile, the cooking club had just finished making a hot plate of panda bao to present to the new student. But before anyone could taste it, Mei Mei popped out of nowhere and devoured the whole plate, and then shamelessly demanded more, which made Komori so furious that she almost lifted the whole table. When Mei Mei revealed her clump of fur camouflage, the group finally realized it was the youth idol. Normally, back in her hometown, the panda was treated like a national treasure. But to Jin, all fur was the same, so he kicked her right out the door for being rude. It was her first time being treated so harshly, which made Mei Mei feel very resentful, so she spent her money to bribe the other members of the food club to force Jin to make her the delicious bao. With no way out, Jin had to agree, but with one condition: that Mei Mei had to work with her hands too, because his philosophy was you don't eat if you don't work. After a lot of hard work making bao and getting scolded here and there, Mei Mei managed to make a batch of hot, delicious panda bao. She even hugged it tightly, for fear Jin would take it away. Seeing the food club was such a fun place, Mei Mei wanted to join as a member. However, Jin said, if you want to join, you need everyone's approval. And the hardest one to convince was that cat girl, Kurumi. When Mei Mei went to Kurumi, the cat girl suddenly got angry because of the strange scent. And the more Mei Mei tried to get close, the more Kurumi fluffed up and chased her away. So, Jin had to shove Mei Mei into a cage before Kurumi stopped being scared of strangers. That night, the panda was locked up all night and saw Kurumi Go to the club's activity room. Mei poured her heart out, saying that when she came here, she felt so happy, so different from her home. Although there she was well-fed and well-clothed, never lacking anything. Kurumi suddenly realized the feeling she had when she joined the cooking club was the same. Understanding Mei's feelings, the next morning, the cat girl brought a mole as a gift for the panda. This could be seen as Kurumi considering Mei a friend. And the panda mimicked Ranka, licking Jin's face to complete the joining procedure, because she thought he was the alpha. On Rina the hyena's side, she had started accepting that she was female. But when encountering the school bullies, she was still ready to kick and punch like a wild animal, and when she saw Hino's femininity, she immediately went to learn from her. Every day, big sis Volfaren watched from afar, observing her little sister. Suddenly, out of nowhere, a girl named Peru appeared. Asking to join the Wolf pack. The reason was because she thought the big sis leader was too cool. However, big sis Farron only allowed one female. Besides her, there was only one person, and that was her little sister Ranka. Upon hearing this, little Peru thought that if she could defeat Ranka, she would be able to join the pack. So she immediately chased after and challenged the little Wolf to a duel. But while running, Peru got distracted by a bird and forgot what she was even doing. Meanwhile, Gina was still desperately following Hino to learn how to be more feminine. But her habit of chewing bones still made her seem like a boy. Hino told everyone at the cooking club to come up with a plan to help Rina. But seeing her like this, Jin thought there was no hope. Afterward, Hino started teaching Rina to help her become more feminine. And after a while, the hyena girl's actions were totally like a girl's. This made both her brother and her father extremely pleased. While the cooking club members clapped and congratulated her when they saw she had truly become a girl. However, despite liking to chew bones, hyenas' stomachs can only digest organic matter. So after chewing, they spit out the undigested bones. And that sight left everyone speechless, and Gina was utterly disappointed. Because in the end, she still couldn't become feminine. At this point, Peru came back to challenge Yanka, but was caught by a lion. Lions and hyenas are natural enemies. So, when they saw Rina in a dress, they started teasing her, and even threatened that if she made a move, they would hurt Peru. But unexpectedly, Jin said, let them do whatever they want, because they wouldn't be able to beat the lion gang anyway. So the lions surrounded Peru, making everyone afraid the little girl might pass out. But Peru belonged to the honey badger species, and they were known as the kings of resilience in the animal kingdom. Honey badgers have super thick skin, making even lions unable to hurt them. Eventually, the lions were sent flying by Jenna's punch. And little Peru still wanted to challenge Yanka. So the hyena girl offered to fight in the little Wolf's place. But unexpectedly, the honey badger's weapon was a super stinky fart, which made both Ranka and Jin, who were close by, want to faint. Seeing her little sister rolling around, big sis Farron jumped out and slammed Peru's head into the ground, at which point Peru felt a little pain and was delighted by it. Incredibly pleased with herself. When Ranka saw her sister with another species, she was very happy. So, Farron decided to accept little Peru into the pack to make her little sister happy. A few days later, Jin's group went on a tour with the entire school to the Animal Academy's secondary campus, which was the Marine Academy. This place was for species from the dolphin family. And when they arrived, they were warmly greeted by a girl from the beluga whale species. But for some reason, the whale was performing and suddenly choked on water. Not sure how that happened. To be alone with Hino, Jin teased Ranka that the whale girl must be having some problem. And sure enough, hearing this, the little Wolf ran to find the whale girl to show the heroism of a leader. The whale girl's name was Kana, and she wanted to join the Dolphin Girls Art Club. But she couldn't perform dances like the other girls, so the art club president wouldn't let her join in the dance. Gina asked Mei to help Kana, but the youth idol only knew how to do mindless panda tricks. So Jin said, the specialty of the beluga whale is not dancing, but singing, and they are known as the canaries of the ocean. But Kana's singing voice was incredibly shrill, which almost made everyone go deaf. That night, the Dolphin Club president came to meet Jin to ask him to convince Kana to quit. And her attitude was surprisingly weak. Shy, completely different from the afternoon. It turns out that dolphins have two brain hemispheres that function independently. They take turns resting. So each time this happens, her personality changes. She said that dolphins and beluga whales aren't the same species, so they can't perform together. And if Kana kept trying, she would only become more disappointed. Despite this, Jin still decided to help Kana master her singing voice. He explained that the sound a beluga whale makes in its nasal cavity, it will intersect at the melon point on the forehead. And only beluga whales can freely change the shape of this melon part, creating those harmonious sounds. In the end, after a while, with everyone's enthusiastic help, Kana was able to sing her beautiful voice loudly, captivating everyone. Even the dolphin girls in the art club were enchanted by the voice and leaped into the water to dance. Thanks to that, Kana was finally recognized for her talent and invited to join the club. Recently, Mei Mei noticed a girl often watching her, but when the panda girl tried to talk to her, the girl kept slamming her head against the wall. According to Jin, the girl might belong to the species of spectacled monkeys, a Southeast Asian monkey species that often slams its head into trees. At gym class, Mei Mei saw the spectacled monkey girl. Watching her, when the girl came over to talk, she became embarrassed, blushing and jumping very high. Turns out, the spectacled monkey can jump up to 25 times its body length. The spectacled monkey girl's name was Manako. And Mei Mei's approach made her incredibly happy, to the point where she completely lost control. In the following days, Mei Mei tried every possible way to approach the girl, but all her efforts were in vain, because just standing near her made Manako feel so shy that she'd slam her head into the wall. But thanks to Mei Mei's affection, Manako became calmer and asked to join the cooking club. This made the panda girl very happy. She jumped up and hugged both Manako and Mizubi. One day, a storm suddenly hit the city, flooding the dormitories and the school's offices, which were underground, so students from underground species were temporarily moved to live with other students, and the person who was assigned to share a room with Jin was the club president, Mickey, and she took over his room to turn it into the student council's office. Mickey suddenly asked Jin if he wanted to be the student council president, because she noticed he was managing the cooking club very well. Thinking about being student council president, the first thing Jin did was expel all the furry animals, so the school would only have him and Hino. But upon reflecting, Jin realized the student council president was incredibly busy and had to deal with all sorts of issues every day, and he certainly wasn't about to serve all those furry creatures, so the final answer was no. A few days later, Animal Academy unexpectedly welcomed a new student. Her name was Ani. She expressed her desire to study here, especially to join the cooking club, and when she encountered Jin in the hallway, she looked at him with a strange expression. Ani went straight to the cooking club and requested to join. When they learned she was human, the whole club was amazed and excited. Recently, Ranka was in heat, so she had to stay in the dormitory, but she couldn't stand it. So she snuck out and spread her scent all over the school, which drove the dogs and wolves into a frenzy. Luckily, Jin found Ranka being chased by the pack, so he took her and hit her. Meanwhile, the dogs chasing them were easily knocked out by Ani's quick strikes. Back in the room, Ranka jumped on Jin, licking him nonstop. So Jin threw her to the floor and said he hated all the animals. When he returned to the club, he found Ani there too. And when he found out she was human, his attitude changed completely. Seeing Ani staring at him all the time, he thought she liked him, so he immediately rejected her, saying he only liked Hino. That night, Ani visited Hino's room and was treated to a big chunk of grilled meat. Hino said that everyone in the club liked Ani and wanted to be friends with her. Meanwhile, Ranka was still upset after Jin's rejection, but when she saw his forgotten shirt, she ran over to smell it. While walking around, Ranka smelled something very delicious. It was Ani cooking meat over a fire in the schoolyard, and she invited Ranka to sit down and eat with her. While talking, Ani revealed she hated humans, believing humanity was a group of arrogant fools that caused the extinction of many animal species. The next morning, Ranka brought the shirt to the club to return it to Jin, and when she learned his words from yesterday were a lie, she joyfully hugged Jin and licked his face. Then she jumped up to lick Ani to thank her for the meat last night. Everyone in the club eagerly welcomed Ani, except for Jin, who felt that there was something suspicious about her. Turns out Ani was a member of the S Club, an organization of animals that had been extinct because of humans. and their goal was to take revenge. It seemed like she was hiding something. Turns out Ani was a member of the S Club, an organization consisting of species that went extinct because of humans, and their goal was to take revenge by ending humanity's existence. Today was the day of the Animal Academy's cultural festival. It was widely attended by students, and the S Club chose this time to act. Jin's club chose to open a restaurant, serving students, and everyone worked together, preparing ingredients to cook, except for the cat girl, who was sleeping under a tree. When the cooking club's restaurant opened to welcome guests, it attracted a lot of students to enjoy the food, which made everyone continuously work without a break. Although Mei occasionally snuck food, and Gina punched a customer, but by the end, they managed to sell everything they had prepared. And Ani's strange expressions didn't go unnoticed by Rina. Later, Hino gave Ani a hairpin as a gift to celebrate her joining the club. Although touched by the gesture, the red-haired girl secretly knocked Hino out to carry out her plan. But everything had been monitored by Gina from the start. At the festival, the predator from the S Club, Andrew started causing trouble. But he accidentally bumped into the honey badger Peru and was immediately punched in the face by Big Sis Varen. Meanwhile, another member of the S Club, the beluga whale girl, arrived at the cooking club. She was served a very disgusting dish by Komori, made from rabbit droppings. Unexpectedly, she found it delicious, because it turns out beluga whales don't have a sense of smell. But when she found out what it was actually made of, she immediately collapsed, foaming at the mouth. Outside, Jin ran into the lion barbary from the frog club. While searching for Hino, he almost got beaten up by him. But fortunately, the school boss can arrive just in time to rescue him. Seeing her lover being called a weak lion, the antelope girl stepped up to lecture him, and the lion barbary slapped her across the face. Seeing her lover hurt, King got furious, activated her lion rage mode, and then delivered a punch that almost made the lion barbary go extinct for real. At this moment, elsewhere, Jenna and Ani were facing off against each other. It was very tense. Suddenly, Yanka jumped out of nowhere to stop them, saying that Ani was not a bad person. It turns out dogs can sense human emotions through scent. Exactly. At that moment, the leader of the S Club, the mammoth, appeared. At first, everyone thought it was a giant animal, but it turned out to be a tiny little girl. Jin over there also ran to the scene and realized that Ani was no ordinary human, but she was from the Neanderthal species that went extinct after wars with humans. Though small in size, the strength of the mammoth was incredibly terrifying. With one hand, she easily took on both the lion and the hyena. Seeing that, Jin threw a pile of toy marbles, which caused the little mammoth to freeze in place. Turns out elephants are very afraid of hurting their feet, so they won't step on places with many obstacles. Finally, both sides agreed to settle their grievances in the arena. And the one to accept the mammoth's challenge was Ranka, entering the match in front of the entire school. Ranka used the Wolf's godly speed to confuse her opponent, but the little mammoth was too strong. So with just one punch, Ranka was left dizzy and headache-stricken. In the second round, before she could do anything, the little Wolf took another punch and almost passed out. But the pride of the Wolf wouldn't let her give up. So the battle continued. After that, even though she took many punches from the mammoth, Ranka still didn't fall. Seeing that, Ani begged the mammoth to stop and let go of the grudge, or else she would leave the S Club. Hearing that, the mammoth stood still and cried, because the extinct animal club was something they had both helped build. Taking advantage of the moment, Ranka knocked the little mammoth down, because she no longer had the mood to get up and fight. So, in the end, the victory went to the little Wolf. After the battle, the little mammoth realized that humans weren't so bad after all. And in the end, both sides decided to put aside their past grudges and shake hands as friends. This is the end of the movie. Thank you so much, everyone. Please subscribe and hit the notification button to look forward to new weekly videos. Goodbye and see you all next time.